So you've heard the Speciation Song, but maybe you're not familiar with all of the concepts in it. This is a short tutorial about speciation that might help you out. Let's start with a certain species of animal. Let's call them the Wibblies. They live in an area with a mountain range that has a path across it, and west side Wibblies can mate with east side Wibblies without too much trouble. Because of this, we say that they are all part of the same gene pool. That is, each Wibbly has genetic information that in future generations could potentially end up mixed with the genetic information of any other Wibbly. But now, say that there's a rock slide, and it blocks the pass, and there's no more travel across the mountain range. Because there's no longer the possibility of mating between the two sides, we say that the gene pools are isolated from each other. Now, as with all species, there's some genetic variation among the Wibblies. Some have longer legs, some are more hairy, and so on. Now, if the conditions on the two sides of the mountains are slightly different, then the types of genetic variants, or alleles, that are advantageous in each environment will differ. And over time, through the process of natural selection, the genetic makeup of the two populations can diverge. Let's fast forward several generations. The two Wibbly populations, which we'll now call the Westies and the Easties, might look a little different from each other, maybe behave a little differently. But are they separate species? Well, according to the biological species definition, they're separate species if they are no longer capable of interbreeding to produce fertile offspring, even when they're brought together. So let's bring the Wibblies together. Let's say there's an earthquake and the mountain pass opens up, and they can intermix again. What could potentially keep them from a productive mating? Well, for one, what if Westies have developed a preference to mate at night, while Easties only mate by day? Well, in this situation, mating is blocked by something that we call temporal isolation. Or, say they all like to mate by day, but they no longer do the same mating song or dance, and because of this, they don't even get to first base with each other. We call this behavioral isolation. Or, let's say they do get to first base, and even second and third, but then they find that their genitals are no longer even compatible. This is a phenomenon known as mechanical isolation. Or, what if they make it all the way, but the west side sperm can't fertilize east side oocytes? This is called gamete incompatibility. Or lastly, say fertilization happens, but because of genetic incompatibilities, the offspring don't survive. This is called hybrid inviability. Or they do survive, but they're infertile. Hybrid infertility. Genetically, the mating has been a dead end, and the gene pools of the Westies and the Easties stay isolated. Now, in all of these cases, the two populations are reproductively isolated and therefore different species according to the biological species concept. Now, how do we define a species when we're comparing organisms that don't have sex at all? That is, they reproduce asexually, like bacteria. In cases like this, the genealogical species concept is handy to us. It defines species as different if they have evolved independently long enough to accumulate genetic differences. That concludes our brief introduction to speciation. If you listen to the song again, I'll bet it will make more sense now, and hopefully it will help you remember what we've learned. Enjoy!